Today, I'm gonna show you 3 recipes for super craveable breakfast tacos that anyone can make in 15 minutes before they need to get to work. The first one is gonna be a hash brown taco. To get started, I'll grab a medium-sized russet potato. And if you're wondering, no, Yukon Golds wouldn't be a good sub here. They're too wet and they won't get crisp. Now, once this russet is peeled, I'll grab my box grater and shred the potato down on the largest hold sides. 1 medium to large russet should make enough hash browns for 2 huge or 4 medium-sized tacos. And once it's grated, I'll need to get rid of all this excessive potato juice. That'll stop crispiness from happening. So over at the sink, I'll just squeeze these potato shreds until I've gotten most of that water out. There we go. Now I'll head over to the stove and drop a nonstick pan over medium-high heat. I'm using a 12-incher here because more surface area means the potatoes will crisp up faster, but also it will allow us to cook the hash browns alongside some fried eggs. I'll also grab a second pan here and throw that over low heat. This is going to act as my comal, or the griddle that I'll use to heat up my tortilla in just a second. Once this first pan is hot, I'll add in a slightly above average amount of olive oil. Then I'll drop in my squeezed potatoes. I'll add in a strong pinch of salt and then a bunch of black pepper. From there, I'll come back and spread that out in the pan and then use my spatula to press the potatoes into the pan. This will ensure maximum browning. Now I'll just crisp these up for about 8 to 10 minutes, but I'll check back in 3 to 4. With that little bit of downtime, I'm gonna prep the rest of my taco filling. For that, I'll need some cheese. For this taco, I'm using the best melting cheese known to tacos and quesadillas actually, Chihuahua cheese. It tastes kind of like aged mozzarella, but it's a little bit gooier and really glues things together. For 4 very full tacos, I'll need about a cup's worth of this cheese grated on the largest hold sides of my box grater. Back over at the stove, my hash browns have taken on some nice color on the first side, so I'll give them a flip. And then I'll fry them on the back side for 2 or 3 minutes. And once they've taken on some color on that side, I'll break them up and then fry them for a minute or 2, break them apart, fry them for another minute or 2, and I'll repeat this for about 8 to 10 minutes until the potatoes are browned, crisped up, and cooked all the way through. And once these potatoes are looking hash browned, I'm gonna scoot them to the back of my nonstick pan, then sneak a little more oil up front, then drop in an egg. I'll hit that with a generous pinch of salt, and then I'll give it a hard fry to get a crispy brown edge around the bottom. Now, while that sizzles, I'll drop a white corn tortilla into the pan that's rolling over low heat on the other side of my stove. I'll mention that there's nothing authentic about these tacos, so if you prefer the wonderful, soft, fluffy sweetness of a flour tortilla, please use those instead. It was a close call for me personally, but I opted for the corn so that Lauren could eat them because she's gluten-free.
Oh. Yeah.
Now, once this tortilla is heated on the first side, I'll flip it over, then add a few pinches of my Chihuahua melting cheese, and then pop on a lid to help it melt. Melted cheese on the inside of a taco is gonna make this thing quesadilla-esque, which is as sick as it sounds. You'll see in a second. Over at my hash browns, you can see that my singular egg here is bubbly and fried around the edges, so I'll flip it over and then fry it hard on the backside for another 1 to 2 minutes. The texture that I'm looking for with the yolk here is gelled around the outside and just barely runny in the middle. That way the yolk will help sauce the taco. And once my potatoes are all crisped up and my egg is perfectly fried, I'm gonna build this thing. First thing down is my cheesy quesadilla style tortilla. Then I'll scoop out about 1/4 of the hash browns that we just made. Next, my fried egg goes down, then some pre-made pico de gallo. But Bri, you're a chef. You should just make it yourself. No, it's a Wednesday morning and I need to get back to work recording the voiceover for this video. Is it the best tasting pico de gallo in the world? No, but does it make this taco taste delicious and fresh? Yes. Behind the pico, I'll drop on some sort of hot sauce or taco sauce to bring some moisture, acidity, and heat. Then I'll add a strong pinch of chopped cilantro to make it taste fresh. And that's not just any breakfast taco, you guys. It's quesadilla inspired. Let's have a taste. That pico makes this taco so fresh. It kind of lightens up the heaviness from the potato, the cheese, and the fried egg. The combination of those 3 things, by the way, makes it taste kind of like a diner breakfast, which is so sick. And the crispy potato in here kind of reminds me of a breakfast burrito, the one with tater tots that I did a few weeks ago. Overall, it's a 9.2 out of 10. Now I've got two more breakfast tacos to show you guys. The second one is possibly the best taco I've had in the last year. But first, we're gonna make a bean and bacon breakfast taco. To get started, I'll grab 4 slices of thick cut bacon. And when I say thick, I mean slices that are about 1 ounce a piece. If your bacon is skinnier, use 8 slices instead of 4. To cut these, I'll just slice them in half and then turn that 90 degrees and cut into chunky square-ish pieces. Once it's cut up, I'll move it over to a medium-high heat pan without oil because bacon brings its own, and then I'll top it with a lid. This is a little restaurant trick for rendering bacon faster. Having a lid on it dramatically raises the temperature around the bacon and really speeds up the process of melting out the fat. And after 3 to 5 minutes of sauteing under a lid, this bacon is mostly rendered and is now starting to fry in its own fat. So I'll give it a stir and continue to crisp it up for another 2 to 3 minutes. And after 8 to 9 minutes in total, this bacon is a deep reddish brown and it's super crispy. So I'll move this over to a plate and drain it on a paper towel. Next, I'm gonna heat up one of my favorite time-saving pantry items of all time to bring some delicious creaminess to this taco. But first, I'm gonna drop this nonstick pan back on the stove over medium heat and thank the people who make it, Made In, for sponsoring this video. If you haven't heard of them, Made In designs professional quality products for the home cook, but their products are also used in multiple 3 Michelin starred kitchens and my kitchen for the last year. A lot of you guys know by now that I really like my nonstick pans because I'm a sucker for something that's easy to clean and performs day in and day out. And in my opinion, truly, Made In's Performance Nonstick Collection is a prime example of what nonstick cookware should be. It's oven safe up to 500F, the nonstick surface is double cured, and so far these pans have held up really well to the intense daily wear and tear that I put them through on this channel. The pans themselves use the same 5-ply design of Made In's stainless line that I'm also a huge fan of, so you know you're getting a nice high quality pan with even heating and a nonstick coating which I'm told passed 100% of third parties' health, safety, and non-toxic tests in both the US and Europe. I actually use Made In products every single day and I really enjoy cooking with them. So to make a cookware upgrade or just buy a few pieces that you really love, use the link in my description and you'll save 10% off your first order over $100. So that time-saving pantry item that I mentioned is a can of refried beans. You guys know what I'm talking about. They're delicious, they're creamy, and they're available. I like these Siete brand beans personally because they're not full of hydrogenated fat or other junk, and they taste very close to what I would make myself. Whatever brand you decide to use, you probably want to doctor them up. To do that, I'll grab a can and plop them into a bowl, then I'll throw that into the microwave under a damp paper towel and nuke it for 2 minutes.
Steaming beans, baby.
Once they're hot, I'll add in the juice of half of a lime, a strong pinch of cumin, a little garlic powder, a little onion powder, some red chili flakes, a strong pinch of salt, and then a little bit of cracked black pepper. I'll give that a quick stir, and it's looking a little pasty, so I'll come back and add like maybe a half cup's worth of water. I'll stir that in until it's creamy, and then I'll give it a taste. Ooh, yeah! These beans are zippy, a little bit spiced, and way more well-seasoned than they were straight out of the can. They're gonna make this breakfast taco taste like a burrito, which I think is really cool. Now, once I've got hot beans and rendered bacon, I'm gonna drop a tortilla in my pan and then fry my egg. For this taco, I'm gonna cook the egg exactly the same as I did for taco 1, and after 3 to 4 minutes, I've got a crispy browned egg with a runny yolk, so it's time to build my taco. I'll drop my floppy hot tortilla, then I'll smear on some of my doctored up beans. Again, don't be afraid to use canned. They taste good. No one gets an award for the most work done on a weekday breakfast. Next, I'll drop 1/4 of my rendered crispy bacon, then my crispy fried egg. I'll top that with another banger of a pantry ingredient, chili crisp. It's spicy, crunchy, a little bit tart, and usually has some sort of numbing Szechuan vibe going on. Sub sriracha if you don't got no chili crisp. Next, I'll add on some crumbly light queso fresco to bring some cheesiness, then some chopped fresh cilantro, and then finally some pickled red onions. I tend to keep these in my fridge about 50% of the time because they're super easy to make and very versatile. And if you want to make them, I'll link to a video down below where I show the entire simple process from start to finish. But if you don't have pickled reds on hand, I would say sub in pickled jalapenos to bring some acidity as well as some additional heat. And that is a rich but not heavy bean and bacon breakfast taco.
Those beans are so creamy and they kind of contrast that crispy, salty bacon really well. They team up and make something super rich and unctuous, but it's not so heavy that you're gonna have to take a nap at like 11:30 a.m. There's plenty of acidity here to balance that richness too with the pickled red onions. They're crispy, they're sweet, they're tart, and they really tie the whole thing together. Don't skimp on those. I'd say overall, this is like a pretty banging taco. 8.8 out of 10. 8.9. Very good.
Okay, last taco, probably my favorite of the entire year, the chorizo taco. To make it, I'll grab 1 stick of Mexican chorizo. You'll want the stuff that looks like red meat paste in a tube. I've got no idea what's actually in there, but I know that I like it a lot. Over at the stove, into a medium heat nonstick pan, I'll squeeze in just over half of this tube, or about 5 ounces, 135 grams. Next, I'll stir to get that spread out in the pan, then I'll fry it to render out any excessive fat and to brown it off. That'll take 3 to 4 minutes. Every 30 seconds or so, I'll crumble it with my spatula to make sure that the texture is being crumbled down. That helps the sausage unify with the eggs that we're dropping in later on, and you'll see why that's a good thing in just a second. Okay, I'm gonna let this fry for another minute or two and then quickly step away to make something that is guacamole-like. Abuelas, look away. This is gonna be quick and dirty. Into a bowl, I'll squeeze 2 very ripe avocados. Oh, make sure to get that little butthole thing out of there. Yuck. Then I'll squeeze in 1 whole lime, a pinch of garlic powder, a pinch of onion powder, some chili flakes to replace the jalapenos. You know, they're kind of similar. Then a strong pinch of salt, and then I'll just mash that a little bit to mix things together, but I'll keep it kind of chunky. And that's weekday morning guacamole. It's got some fresh lime flavor, it's a little bit garlicky, it only takes like 1 minute, and it's close enough. Back over at the stove, my chorizo is all browned up and rendered out, so it's time for eggs. I'll just crack 4 of those into a little dish, whip them up with my coffee frother, and then I'll add them into the pan alongside the chorizo. I'll scramble everything together here for a minute or 2 while crumbling down both the eggs and the chorizo. The final result should be a homogeneous mix of lightly scrambled eggs and fatty, spicy orange sausage. It should be Chorizoegg, as in one word, a unified thing. Now, once the eggs are cooked through and everything's brought together in the pan here, it's time to build this taco. For that, onto a fresh and floppy tortilla, I'll drop a spoonful of my guac, in quotes. I'll spread that around. Then I'll drop on a 1/4 of my chorizo eggs. On top of that, I'll squeeze a tablespoon or 2 of bright, fresh salsa. I'm using some homemade Tomatillo salsa. Like the pickled red onions, I generally keep this in my fridge because it's easy and lasts a long time. To make it, I just combine tomatillos, onions, garlic, and poblanos with some water in a little saucepan, simmered until tender, then pureed with salt and cilantro. Full recipe is on my website, and I'll link to that down below. Behind the fresh green salsa, I'll add on some crumbly queso fresco and then some fresh cilantro. And there we go. Chorizo and egg is a classic combination for a reason, you guys. It's savory, it's porky, it's spicy, and the eggs temper the intensity of that sausage perfectly.
This has everything that you could want in a breakfast. It's got a little meat, it's got a little sauce, a little acid, it's creamy, and it's not too heavy. The chorizo really frickin' hits, man. Oh my God. It's salty, savory, and it's got a little something that's hard to describe. Chorizo is a weird food, but it's one of my favorites. Score for this taco? 9.6. I want to go higher. I feel emotionally quite attached to this taco, but if you go higher than a 9.6, there's nowhere to go, baby. You've basically maxed it out. And I want to believe that a breakfast taco could get better than this. Although looking at it, I don't know.
So that's 3 very easy to execute breakfast tacos that literally anyone can make in 15 minutes before work. And if you're looking for some more tasty chefed up recipes to get you through the work week, please check out this video next. Now, let's eat this thing.